Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Week 9 edition of the 2024 NFL Draft Rookie Stock Report. Each and every week on this channel, we're going to be dropping a film just like this one, keeping you up to date. And, for the 2024 draft, man, it is, we're in the season. It's the beginning of November. My podcast co-host and I, Jason DiRienzo, each and every week on our podcast, we talk about stock players. And today we're going to talk about 4 stock up players headed to the draft next year and 2 stock down players. These are players that if you play Dynasty, you play Fantasy, these are guys you're going to be drafting in your rookie drafts next year, or maybe not with the stock down players. But either way, man, hit that subscribe button. If you're looking for a channel out here on YouTube that's going to give you an early look at the 2024 draft class for our Dynasty rosters, hit that subscribe button, man. We have a ton of content headed your way. Rookie reports, in-depth rookie reports, film reviews, highlight films. This channel is dedicated to getting you ready for your fantasy draft next April. So enjoy the show. This is an insert from our podcast. So enjoy the show. Thanks. All right. Are you ready to get to our 2024 NFL stock report?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right. So why don't you lead us off this time? I'm always the one going first, Jason. So why don't you start us off? Who is your Week 9 NFL stock report first player of the week this week?
Yeah, well, this is the guy that has been kind of climbing, and I'm going to go with Alabama running back Jace McClellan. He's really starting to come on, and I really like what I've seen from him as an all-around back. What I mean by that is that in the last game he played against Tennessee, not only did I see him become a more dynamic runner, he just seemed a lot more decisive and making quicker decisions on where he wanted to go. I saw him execute blocking much more strategically, had very good mechanics as far as understanding when to come out, make a block. And I mean, even the announcers during the game had to say something about it because he was just kind of putting on a show with the blocking. And even though he only has 9 receptions this year, I know that he can be a dynamic pass catcher. So for me, in a running back class that has a lot of question marks, I think Jace McClellan can find his way up, and how he's been performing as of late, I think he's definitely on the rise.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. I mean, this running back class, I think you and I are both on record kind of saying it's going to be a horse race to April. I think it's, who knows who is going to be the first, second, or third. Got 5-6 weeks of football left in college, but I like that call. I mean, I think the whole running back, draft room is kind of wide open at this point. So we'll have to see where he lands. I like that. I'm going to go with Devontae Walker, UNC wide receiver. Now, on the podcast here a couple weeks ago or 2 or 3 episodes ago, I talked about him as a Devy stock up player, but I want to talk to him about an NFL stock up player. I mean, this guy has balled out. He's only played 4 games. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. He was 2 years at Kent State, and then this year he transferred to UNC. And was out the first, I think, month of September. Pretty much, he didn't play. He had some, his transfer didn't go through or something. He finally got on the field at the beginning of October. Played 4 games, and through 4 games, 397 yards, averaging 15.3 yards a reception. He has 4 TDs already. So, I mean, he just really broke out in his first game against Miami, 3 weeks ago. Georgia Tech this week, he got banged up. He got like a really rough hit. He actually was in the hospital for a few days and came out. But I'll tell you, I said it before on the podcast, and I'll say it again. He really reminds me, if you watch him from his skill set, his physicality and his length and his build and everything, he reminds me of a Brian Thomas Jr., who, by the way, Dane Brugler came out on The Athletic with his top 50 2024 draft assets, and Brian Thomas Jr. was on that list. So I kind of see him following now. Is he going to go to the draft this year? Possibly, possibly not. But he's getting a little bit of buzz out there, but he's an explosive player. I like his length. He's got good hands. Plays the boundary receiver primarily, 95% of the slot. His snaps rather are on the outside. He has 0 drops on the season, 86% catch percentage, or 76% catch percentage, and 86% contested catch percentage. So he's got that big physicality frame of his to go up and get the ball. But I think he's just another one of these big, taller receivers heading to the 2024 draft. I like what I've seen from. He's an explosive player. He really is, and he might just follow Drake May to the draft next April.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I mean, in his first game this year, what he have like 3 touchdowns? So, he's a
Mhm.
very explosive player, and he's a deep threat. He can be versatile, so I really like that call, and he should definitely be on the rise. My next guy is going to be USC receiver Taj Washington, and man, when we talked about the beginning of the season, this was a loaded depth chart at with the receivers, right? You got the Brendan
Right.
Rices and Dorian Singers, and then you had the Zachariah Branch, and you had Mekhi Lemon coming in. Like, we didn't know how that target share was going to look, and it made us weary of even pinpointing one person that we felt like could possibly break out. Never even really discussed Taj Washington, and he is just completely on the rise. And he looks like one of the most consistent receivers for Caleb Williams right now. And Caleb Williams is targeting him quite a bit. So Taj Washington, to me, even though he's got that slim frame at 5'10", 175, I'm not saying this is who he is, but he just reminds me of the way he plays with the twitchiness and the above average athleticism and speed. But he does remind me of Devonta Smith, how he just understands exactly how to execute the timing in his speed to hit the post and corner routes to separate and get open. We saw Devonta Smith do that a lot at Alabama.
Mhm.
And I love the hands too. I think the hands are phenomenal. Over the last couple of years, 2 years at Memphis, and then also the 2 years that he spent at USC previously to this year, he had 13 drops. This year, he has one drop. So he's improved in almost every asset of his game. He's averaging 20 yards per reception. He's got an average depth of target of just over 12. I like what he's doing, and I think he could be a deep threat, and I think he could be quarterback friendly as a good route runner too on comeback routes with that twitchy change of direction. So Taj Washington for me is definitely on the rise.
When he transferred to USC a couple years ago, coming out of Memphis, I did a highlight film on him of that sophomore season at Memphis, man, and he was like so impressive. I mean, for going
Oh
up and
yeah.
getting the ball, the physicality, the ability to go up and contort his body and everything, and I was so impressed. And I thought he was going to have a better kind of 2 years at USC. Last year he didn't do a whole lot, but this year he's getting a better opportunity. I really like that call too, because that's what the NFL wants right now. They want these twitchy, receivers. And he fits the bill for that. So I like that. All I can say, Jason, my second stock up player, our boy is back. Maybe our boy is back. Lad McConkey is back. He was dinged up
Yes.
earlier this year.
So happy
Plays
you put him on the sheet.
Yeah, I know. And so, you and I have been a fan of him for quite some
Mhm.
time. I think he potentially could be a top 10 receiver when it's all said and done. The guy
I
just
agree.
knows how to get open. He played in Florida this week, 6 receptions on 7 targets, 135 yards and a touchdown. I like everything he brings to the table. He's that
Mhm.
wiry frame kind of player. At 6 foot, 185 pounds. He's a true junior. There's a chance he maybe comes back for his senior year. I don't know. We always have those 2 or 3 players every year that always come back and disappoint us. Like, you're coming back.
No.
Kind of like Rome Odunze did last year. We all thought he was going to declare, but then he came back for his senior year. And with the nil money, you just don't know anymore. So, and I don't think
Right.
there's a big blemish on players that are seniors. I know that was like taboo 3 or 4 years ago, but I don't think anyone cares about that anymore. That early declare stuff, I don't think really matters to NFL franchises all that much. I think they're just looking for skill players to put on the field. And I just like Lad McClonkey. I just like everything about his game. I love his yards after the catch ability. I like he can take it to the house. I think he's just an all around technical player who understands the game of football and just understand what he sees on the field and can just get open when he needs to. And I think he's going to be one of those quarterback or those wide receivers that are going to be a quarterback's best friend at the next level. So I'm all in on Lad McConkey. He's my second stock up player.
I love this one. And yeah, Ladd just looked like he was. I know it was Florida and their defense has been questionable, but he just looked
Mm,
like like you just could not
he's
cover
back.
him. Like he
He's
just
back.
knows exactly. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
back. He knows exactly how to separate. So obviously, I love that call. So I'm gonna go with my guy who's a stock down, and this one's gonna be kind of obvious, but I think we expected more, and it just did not happen. That's gonna be Ole Miss wide receiver transfer Zachary Franklin. We figured that a guy who had been pretty massively productive during his collegiate career was going to come into Ole Miss and find a role and continue producing because that would be the hope. But that has not happened.
Right.
Zachary Franklin has not figured it out while at Ole Miss. It's not like he, you know, it's not like Jackson Dart can't get him the ball. It's just the opportunities are not there, and I just don't think he's actually put it together at this level of college football. So Zachary Franklin, as much as we might have been intrigued by him, he is definitely a stock down.
Yeah, there were such high expectations him coming to Ole Miss. I mean, there was a
Mhm.
lot of hype him coming in where this was
Which
he
is
was
understood. It was
understood.
understandable at the moment,
And
you
I
know?
and I've said it before on the podcast, on the YouTube shows that we do and everything. It's that when those players transfer to SEC teams, and you'd like to see how they, how they produce, in the best conference in college football. And unfortunately, it just hasn't really panned out for Franklin. This is a deep wide receiver class too, so if he
Yeah.
does make it, he's gonna be buried. My stock down player this week, I want to talk about Clemson running back Will Shipley. All right, so Will Shipley on the season, he has 113 attempts, 533 yards, averaging 4.7 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 2 fumbles on the season. He's really the engine for the Clemson offense.
Mm.
Klubnik, I think, is struggling a little bit. The receivers, just no one's really emerged. Antonio Williams sometimes comes out. Tyler Brown is kind of emerging this year. But Will Shipley is the focal point of this offense, and they've been leaning on him heavily. And I think he's a nice college player, but I just don't see any traits that are going to translate to me setting him in my roster. Again, this show's all about dynasty and fantasy football, for the future, not so much as draft capital, at the NFL level for just him making a team on the NFL. But like, is he gonna be on our dynasty rosters on Sundays? And I just can't. I see Will Shipley, being a running back who's drafted, I think, day 3, and who's just going to be a depth piece on, on a team who might get an opportunity, kind of like a Jerome Ford, right? He's going to be, drafted behind an existing player most likely, and he'll be called up when needed to. But he, good pass catcher out of the backfield. But if you look at the PFF grades, he's just below 50% percentage on just about everything. Yards after contact, 2.77. That's like in the under the first 25, percentile. Elusive rating, he's under the 25th percentile. So there's just no traits that I see that you watch his film and you're like, oh, okay. Like, Jason, I always talk about wow moments, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I want to see wow moments. If you're a receiver, running back, I got to see something that, says, oh, okay, you can be a difference maker on the field. And I just don't see it with Will Shipley. So he's going to be my stock down player.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I swear you and I a year ago were saying the same exact thing when we did a film breakdown of Will Shipley, just saying
Mhm.
there's nothing really truly special about him. And we've had enough time this season to really evaluate that. And yeah, I don't really see anything special either. And I believe he's got a concussion right now. Looks like Phil Maffa is probably going to end up playing against Notre Dame this weekend. And so I'm kind of
Ooh.
excited to see what Phil Maffa can do because I've been intrigued by him for a little while, and he looked pretty good filling in for Will Shipley when he got injured this past weekend. So we'll see how that goes. But I agree with you. I think Will Shipley is definitely just more of a backup type of guy. So
So
good
there,
call.
yeah. So there you guys got it. Those are 4 stock up players, and 2 stock down players for our 2024 NFL draft report. We are in the season, man. I am excited.
Yeah,
All right.
it's